Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Tour of the Citadel series, where I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk to all of the content creators that I have working for me in this organization. And I'm just going to do an informal interview type thing where I just talk to them, I get to know them a little bit better so that you, the viewer, can also get to know them a little bit better. So I'm going to start off today with Blacksteel Outlaw, who, funnily enough, is actually my brother. So, Outlaw, obviously, I know that you were there at the start of Blacksteel Citadel, the original one that we created years ago in World of Warcraft. You were actually the one that came up with the name for it, though. So why don't you just go ahead and give me a little bit of background, like where that name came from and what it means to you?
So the name Blacksteel Citadel came from two different parts and two different things. So we'd been playing World of Warcraft at the time, and it was in Warlords of Draenor time frame. Back then, the ore that you used a lot of was black iron ore. Well, you used black iron ore and another ore, but the black iron ore was really the one that was really big for me. So for whatever reason, it just kind of stuck with me, and I really liked the idea of black steel. And then thinking of a citadel and what a citadel was, a citadel is this sense of safety almost. You During an invasion or a raid or anything like that, you would send your people to the Citadel for safety. And at the time, we had moved from our primary server and the guild that we had been in to a different server, and we were looking for our own little home. So when we couldn't find a home in another guild because people were asking for crazy, ridiculous things just to even touch content, we decided to make our own home. And so the name Blacksteel Citadel was created, and we made our own guild.
Thank you very much, and I'd just like to say thank you again for allowing me to use the name that you came up with and this organization that I created. So while we're on the same kind of topic of names, Outlaw, what was the inspiration behind that?
So I served in the military for a little while, and certain things just kind of stick with you. And when I was in basic training, my platoon was we were the Outlaws, so it just kind of stuck with me. I mean, even down to in some games, my screen name will be like Outlaw 432. That's not just for descending. I mean, that is what it is, but that was also my place in the platoon. I was in the fourth line, or it was fourth platoon, and I was the 32nd soldier in the platoon. So that's kind of why I stick to those names.
Moving on to you now. What made you decide to join me? When I told you that I was using the name and what I wanted to use it for, there was no hesitation on your end. You wanted it, you wanted to join me. Was content creation something that you've wanted to do for a while and you just didn't know how to get started, or like what?
So I'd been planning on doing some content creation, and I just didn't know how to get started, like you said. And for me, it came out to, well, what games am I playing? What games would people like to see content for? Well, what games do I go and look up content for that I'm playing? So the first game that really stuck out was Raid Shadow Legends on mobile. Um, I'd been following a couple of different content creators, people like Stu Gaming and Darth Microtransactions, just kind of watching what they're doing, the things that they do. Um, and I realized that for the most part, most of the content creators out there are fulfilling to a niche group, right? They're doing these videos about these different heroes or champions, and most of them are about champions that most accounts, quite honestly, probably won't touch, as most people don't have the kind of money that they have to just throw into a mobile game. So, for me, I wanted to go ahead and start creating content for that, and I wanted to do it on the basis of being a mostly free to play account that maybe I drop $5 or $10 into the game every now and again, but nothing big. So I just kind of decided to start creating that kind of content.
Next up, talking about you a little bit more. Obviously, I'm sure I can answer this question, but why don't you go ahead and talk to the viewers a little bit? Like, what was the first game that you really got into that made you think, like, you know what? I really actually like games. This isn't something I want to do as a hobby anymore. Like, I want to play games for the rest of my life.
So I've been into games pretty much forever. I'm pretty sure the first time that I was walking to a Nintendo 64 controller. And For me, I think the game that really made me realize that I was going to be a gamer for the rest of my life and just keep playing had to have been Halo. I really liked back in the day having the cooperative play with your siblings. I mean, I'm one of four, so me and my two brothers, we would always play. But because there were three of us, it was really hard to just balance out. Okay, so how are we going to do the campaign? So we started doing versus matches a lot. And, I mean, there's a real sense of pride in knowing that you beat both your brothers in a game. So after a while, that just kind of turned to, well, how many people can I beat at this game? And I started playing online, and it just became a whole thing from there.
Lastly, on the topic of your section of the channel, I know you already have a ton of content recorded as well as planned out. Why don't you just go ahead and explain a little bit about how you're going to release your videos? Because I know you're unique in the sense that you're getting 2 upload days just because of how much content you do have, whereas the other creators are only going to be running with one. So just how do you plan on balancing out both of those days?
So as far as balancing out both days, I think that that'll be done pretty easily. As I have my beautiful wife is going to help me do some of the video editing. So when it comes to the content itself, one of those days is going to be dedicated to raid, right? Something fun for the week. So you have your five base or regular dungeons. You have the Minotaur, the Spider Dungeon, Fire Knight, Dragon, and Ice Golem. Those are all five different things that have five different tactics. So I want to do a video that kind of tackles the tactic to fighting each of them, and then maybe a video about, hey, this person's really good, and almost every account should have them. Here's where you want to use them. Maybe a video of, well, this person normally looks like they should be trash, but I'm going to go ahead and just make them not trash anyways. Let's have fun. Let's see where we can make them do something interesting. So the raid videos are going to be a big focus for me. Currently, we find ourselves in the off season for some of the other games that I like to play. So, League of Legends, I won't be putting out very much content for that right now. Not until the season begins. Maybe we'll see a little bit of ranked climbing in there. Maybe we'll see just goofy things. Maybe I'll do a full AD attack speed Anivia. Who knows? Um, Diablo also is in an off-season time frame right now. So that there's not really a whole lot of seasonal climbing that I'm going to be doing for that right now. So most of the games that I'll be playing are going to be games that either don't have a seasonal or just not really anything super crazy or big going on in those games right now, and we'll just see some basic content. But for the most part, I think raid is probably going to be my biggest focus.
And finally, are there any last words you want to tell any viewers? Anything you'd like to add on?
Yeah, so content creating is much like gaming, right? You're not going to be good at it at first, and if a lot of you are going to want to do content creating, and that's okay. Go ahead and get out there, just do it. I mean, the first video that I recorded, um, when I played it back, I absolutely hated it. I was so irritated with myself and about, wow, is this really the degree of content that I want to put out? So I deleted the whole video. And then I re-recorded the video and edited some things, went over it, did some things a little bit different, um, and ended up coming out with a video that I was actually pretty happy with. And it just kind of, I mean, it led into the next game. I felt like that 14-year-old kid that tells his mom, yeah, you know what, I'll do the dishes after this game, and 3 games later I'm getting up and dinner's done and I need to go do dishes. So I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think that all you really need to do to get into this is sit down and get into this. Just start recording. You might not like what you put out at first, but you know what? There's always a delete button, and then you can just hit that start recording button again for the next video. If you don't like it the first time, do it again. You might like it the second time.
Okay, and thank you very much, Outlaw. Thank you for your time today.